What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the future of where I believe the first-person genre is going. If you're watching my channel, chances are you're familiar with extraction shooters. Well, let's talk about why I think that is, why you're seeing more and more titles crop up in this genre. Extraction shooters, while there are differentiating factors in each of the game overall, the basis is you load into a map, you take gear from your inventory, you loot and complete quests, you risk running into players or AI factions, and of course the main risk above all of that is if you die, you lose that gear you brought into said raid or said extraction, whatever it may be in the certain game you're playing. There's different variations, different things they name to it, but if you die, you lose that gear. That's the overall basis of extraction shooters if you have to extract in order to survive with your gear. That is what makes these games so enjoyable, is that fear factor, that risk you're taking when you're taking in some of that gear, that elevated heart rate, that hyper focus you're taking in. It's really what makes these games so special. What kind of drives me in and digs me into trying these games is because I want to feel stressed when I'm taking in that gear. I don't want to have that easeability of just being able to respawn with that same kit and run back and run back and run back. I want to be able to have to understand the risk that I'm taking in, why I'm taking in this kit, if it's order to complete a specific quest, or if that I'm looking to kill players or whatever it might be. Making sure you're focused on whatever kit you're bringing in because you don't want to lose it, or making sure you're building it out specifically to what you're going to be doing is awesome. That's kind of the main reason I love these games. There's a lot to them, but that's one of the main differentiating factors. A question to ask though is, why haven't we seen more extraction shooter games pop up until now? Well, a couple of things play into the factor. For one, Escape from Tarkov has absolutely dominated the industry for a long time, kind of like Fortnite did in Battle Royales. Call of Duty released DMZ with Modern Warfare 2, and it was a arcadey take with Call of Duty mechanics on the extraction shooter genre. And in this version, a lot of people enjoyed that the fact that it wasn't so hardcore, a little bit more arcadey, but additionally the fact that it also brought it to console had a bigger jump on that player base. I think a lot of people wanted to try looter shooters, but they didn't really get the ease of access. Like, you had to have a PC or a higher end system or whatever it might be. They weren't able to focus on hardcore shooters. But the ability that DMZ brought more arcadey Call of Duty mechanics to that genre was super awesome to see. I personally, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I did know a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that really enjoyed this game, that they really wanted to have a more arcadey take on it. So it's interesting to see what they're going to be doing going forward with that, because unfortunately Activision, even though so many players loved it, they still axed it and killed it after 1 year of release with Modern Warfare 3 DMZ Zombies, which kind of sucks that they went ahead and went down that route. The main reason I sense extraction shooters haven't really hit that cusp is ease of access into the game, which kind of I mentioned how DMZ bringing the game into consoles and PC, of course, having both options is a very big thing to do. Now, I'm not saying every extraction shooter has to come to console, because it's pretty hard to map things to controller, especially some of these hardcore ones. Like, you could never see Escape from Tarkov on a controller. However, in order to open up the ability to more players to try our game and things like that, you might be looking at games that have, even if they're just PC only, more of an arcadey sense to them, where you're not having to require this to be a full-time job. Extraction shooters require time and commitment more than a quick 5v5 match of most other FPS shooters. In order to truly enjoy the game, most extraction shooters ask that you treat them like a part-time job. Escape from Tarkov, for example, like I mentioned, has been so hardcore that, I mean, in order to truly be what is so-called a Chad in that game, you have to spend hundreds of hours in order to reach max traders and have access to the best gear in the game. Recently, Battlestate Games, whether it's from the competition of other games copying up or the feel the need to improve their game, have worked on removing some of those hardness filters that come with Escape from Tarkov, opening up the ability for more players to be able to still utilize some of that higher end gear without having to spend hundreds of hours into the game. The way they're doing that is, if you've played the game before, if not, they have what's called a flea market. It's an auction house where you can buy players. They're kind of limiting some of the trader restrictions and stuff you can buy from there. So it's nice to see that, because it's giving players more of the ability to test out better gear without having to commit 8 hours a day to Escape from Tarkov in order to get some of that high tier gear. It's simple. If extraction shooters want to step in the spotlight of FPS games, they need to have the ability to open the doors more. Like, if that's kind of what Battle Royales kind of did, is it kind of opened the player base to everybody. Like, if you were a hardcore player, if you were a simple player, it was everybody, super wide range of players. And I know a lot of us hardcore gamers love our hardcoreness, love how small of a, not necessarily small, but how tight knit of a community it feels like with this hardcore genre, where if you're just an arcadey Call of Duty gamer, you won't really enjoy this and kind of trying to gatekeep a little bit. I think in order to see more and more games get better and progress and more stuff come into this genre that we might enjoy, we need to be understanding that there needs to be more players coming into this, and there needs to be different takes on it and different variations, and we need to be open to trying new ideas. And I'm not saying you have to drop. If you like Escape from Tarkov, if you like Gray Zone, whatever it might be, I'm not saying drop those games. I'm just saying for new players to come into that space and try stuff, they need to have something, a first initial step into it. And a lot of players, to get that first initial step, they don't need something as hardcore. They need something a little more arcadey, where they kind of get the basis of what the game mode might be, and then they kind of dive into it a little bit more and more and more. That's why you have kind of tutorials in games, right? If tutorials, you think about it, in order for a gamer to really enjoy a game, they kind of got to know what the hell's going on. So they give you that tutorial, they give you that little slice of cake, and you eat it, and you're like, wow, this is delicious, give me the rest of it. So that's kind of what I think needs to be happening here in order for more players to test the space, whether it can be more games becoming easily accessible, less restrictions, more arcadey, whatever it might be, right? I'm not saying arcade is the immediate solution, but things like that might come into play as far as opening that player base up more and more, and have more development, and have bigger studios come into play, and maybe dabble into this genre more. So that's the kind of where I want to see the spotlight of FPS going, is towards extraction shooters, but there's steps that need to happen in order to reach that point. If you guys are enjoying so far, a like to the video will always be super appreciated, and a sub to the channel will be extra awesome. With more and more extraction shooters coming to surface, we may be going to see an explosion of the genre, kind of like what we did with Battle Royales from 2018 to 2020. So many different developers trying to dip their hands into the success Fortnite and PUBG have had by releasing their own variations of the game. The biggest issue is we may be going to see just cash grabs and lack of original gaming concepts come to play, and more of just the same clones of each game. Let me also state that it's not bad to take inspiration from a game to make it better in your own way. If you take a look at the game like Arena Breakout Infinite, it has taken the free-to-play approach on the extraction genre while feeling with this very similar basis to Escape from Tarkov, but has more of an arcadey sense to it with the movement. And if you guys have played it, the gunfights definitely don't feel as intense and hardcore. It still has its own uniqueness to it, but it does have a very similar basis to Escape from Tarkov, where if you play Escape from Tarkov, you hop on Arena Breakout, it will feel very similar to you. We are yet to see how free-to-play will come into this genre and how it will play out. I'm really interested to see how it's going to be going forward. However, pay to win is something that I'm completely against in this genre. At the end of the day, it's a business. They have to make money by introducing skins, cosmetic, weapon skins, operator outfits, whatever it might be, right? They need to make money. However, you cannot affect the gameplay loop of extraction shooters with pay to win elements. I cannot envision a game surviving in the long run, because part of the charm is the struggle to earn your gear and build your inventory up. And if you're giving people the option to just swipe their credit card and get some of that gear and get some money in game, you're really kind of killing the whole thing of it, right? Like, you're not making the struggle worth it. At the end of the day, you're not enjoying that gear as much as you did because you just bought it instead of grinding for it, right? So the grind is part of that enjoyment, and I know pay to win definitely generates a lot of revenue. However, it's definitely not something that I think this genre will absorb, and I don't think it'll push out most of these games that have pay to win elements. However, I think free to play is also really important, because I think it gives more players in this genre the ability to hop in and try new things, right? Because they don't have to spend money with it, and that's kind of a big holdout for a lot of people, is spending $30 to $60 on a game that they don't know how they're going to enjoy. With Steam, you have the ability to refund and stuff like that, but some of these shooters have their own launchers, right? So you got to spend some of your own money with a risk kind of reward to it, and you watch videos on it and stuff like that, but you really don't know how it's going to feel until you get into the game. Now, free to play gives you that opportunity to try more stuff out. However, I think a lot of players also see free to play with a pay to win price tag attached to it. So kind of maybe, maybe a dual-edged sword, right? Where you're, oh, it's free to play, more players, but more players might hold off because they're scared of diving into it, because they think if they spend 20 hours, a guy who spends 2 hours and swipes his credit card for 20 bucks might be at the same place, right? So free to play is a nice place to start, but it's a fine line you got to walk and make sure you don't dive in the wrong way. I think gamers are ready for the next evolution of shooters. They want to sink and invest their time into something new and officially feel like they're improving at a new game. The genre will continue to see new games crop up that, additionally to Gray Zone Warfare, Escape from Tarkov, Arena Breakout, we're seeing games like Beautiful Light and Delta Force Hawk Ops, which both have upcoming playtests and aim to spin their own version on the genre, which is going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because if that's what's going to separate these games, right, is if they take their own spin and they implement it correctly, then you might have nice new players into this genre that are going to bring a nice player base into it. We can't remember games like, the Cycle Frontier. Unfortunately, that game was a attempt at the extraction shooter genre, and it went with a free-to-play mechanic as well, but I think towards the end it kind of started offering more pay-to-win mechanics, if I'm not mistaken, and unfortunately the game got shut down. It wasn't able to compete in this genre, so developers need to make sure they take the right steps to understand what the people want, what the community is looking for, and make sure they don't sabotage their own game, right? So that's kind kind of a big thing. Escape from Tarkov is also spinning up into a potential 1.0 release and maybe a release on Steam in the future. A release on Steam will definitely generate more players to try out this game, as I think that a Steam release is going to be a very big open door for maybe more people trying out Escape from Tarkov, because a lot of people aren't really interested in trying it out where it's at right now. But maybe with a 1.0 release, Battlestate Games might have something neat down the line for the game. Obviously, we'll see. Fingers crossed 1.0 release is nearby. But I know for you, a lot of Escape from Tarkov gamers, you just love the game the way it is, and I do too. So it's just gonna have to see more and more development coming down the line and see how that happens. There are good things coming though for the extraction genre. It has a long ways to go for sure, but I still think it can pull players and begin to really fuel the first-person genre into the next coming of games. I definitely recommend you give it a try. Maybe with some of the free-to-play games like Arena Breakout would be a good place to start, and maybe some other ones that are coming out. Like right now, I'm playing this Level Zero, which is under a playtest. It is a playtest on the 16th. It's free to play, so definitely try it out. It's kind of a horror game take on it, and I have a video coming out on that, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel if you're interested in that. But I think you need to get your own understanding, and I'm very curious what you think, and let me know what you think if you're trying out, or what maybe you're already an experienced player watching my video, and let me know what your favorite thing about the genre is. It definitely, like I said, has a long ways to go, but I think if you try it out and, you know, maybe take a basis from videos and from content creators, but the biggest thing you can try out in these games is play it yourself and see how it feels, right? So you get that adrenaline pumping of being in these gunfights, learning a new game. It's not easy. Some of these games are really hard to learn, and you got to sink some time in, but I think the payout's so worth it, man. I definitely recommend you give some of these games a try, man. So obviously, if you play them, let me know. If you've been playing them for a while, let me know what your favorite thing is. I'm very curious to hear your guys' feedback. Console players are a huge player base as well. So if a developer can properly capture the audience of DMZ fans waiting for less hardcore but still enjoyable core experience of the extraction shooter genre, it may be the next big player, such as the way DMZ kind of captivated a lot of players, especially more of the less hardcore but still looking for that extraction shooter genre and having some of that inventory build up and some of that risk reward factor. I think that the biggest thing is if you're going to make it less hardcore and you're going to make it more arcadey and you're going to try and captivate towards that audience, is you need to go ahead and launch a console port of the version of the game. DMZ did that, and look, like I said, look earlier how it exploded with players and how much love it has and support now, as many players want an additional version of that, an updated version, or some game similar to that. So console players cannot be forgotten. I know many of us are PC gamers probably watching this. There's a big chance you're a PC gamer, because that's where most of the extraction shooters are right now. However, I think we can't underestimate the fact that console players really want to try this stuff out, man. And I know, you know, go buy a PC, right? That's an easy argument or that's counter to an argument. But having something less arcadey and less hardcore isn't bad to the genre, right? Having the two options, right, for the duality, right? So you want somebody who can sink 8 to 9 hours into a game, right, and just have to require so much time to improve because it's so hardcore. Somebody wants to hop on for an hour and feel that, you know, that risk reward of taking some of their inventory in and having more rewards be given to them and less hardcoreness to it, right? You're going to have two sides of this always, no matter what happens. So that was a lot of stuff we went over there. And those are some of my opinions of where I think the extraction shooter genre is going. Curious though, which extraction shooters have you guys tried? What have you played? What are you sinking your time into? Are you waiting for more games to pop up to dive back into the extraction genre, or are you still in it? What do you most enjoy about it? Obviously, like I said, I'm curious what you're playing. Let me know what you most enjoy about the genre, stuff like that. And how many more of you are waiting for maybe a less hardcore take on the genre to hop back in? Because I bet you there's a couple of you that are there like, man, I love these games, but I don't want to sink so much time in because I don't have so much time in a day. I work full time. I only have an hour or two to game each day. And something like Escape from Tarkov, I'm always behind on. So maybe something arcadey, DMZ, for example, was a perfect bridge for that. But maybe a game like Delta Force Hawk Ops might be more interested and more something down your line. So we'll see. I'm very curious what you guys think about that. But anyways, thank you guys for the love and support. As always, we're nearing 5K subs on the channel, which is absolutely insane. So I want to say thank you for all that love and support. Another super big milestone we're coming up on. And I want to just say thank you as always. If you enjoyed the video, again, a like goes a super long way in boosting this video out to reach more people so more people can see it, give their feedback. And sub just helps to keep the channel keep growing farther each and every day. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you all as always. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Enjoy your day. Bye.